Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you are all having a beautiful Saturday. We are so excited, over the moon. You know, I talk about this company all the time because I totally believe in them. I believe in what they do. And I am so proud and honored to have Jacob Young from Young Living on today. He is the content marketing manager for the company, and also might be relations to D. Gary Young and Mary Young, who are the owners and the founders of Young Living. So let's all welcome Jacob onto the show. Welcome, Jacob.
Hi there. Thank you so much for bringing me on.
Not a problem. So, Jacob, you've been part of Young Living since the day you were born, and you really enjoy a special relationship with the company, the employees and the members, right? So what does that mean? Help our listeners understand who you are.
Wow, that's a really good question. So, like you said, I have been in Young Living since the day I was born, and being around the members in the field, being around our employees, and being around the company my entire life has just held a really special place for it in my heart. And, growing up with my parents and traveling the world and getting to experience things that kids, my age will most likely never experience in their life, I am extremely grateful for. There's a lot that I've been able to experience, a lot that I've been able to see, with my own eyes. Like I said, that most people will most likely not ever be able to experience in their lives. And hopefully, I hope for everybody that they'll be able to experience the things that I've been able to experience, the places that I've been able to go. There's not enough words to describe my gratitude for what my parents have given to me, what I've been able to experience, what I've been able to achieve. And watching them build the company from something so small to something so big in just, 30 years time. So, all of my lifetime, essentially, in 10 plus years more, is just truly amazing to see how hardworking and dedicated they are. I think the most amazing part about it is they did it with such humility, is the right word that I want to use. My parents, I've never seen them spend lavishly. I would say the only time they quote unquote would spend lavishly is when they were giving to the foundation or giving to other people in need. And in that point in time, money was never a concern for them. They wanted to make sure that they gave more than what they took. And that applied not only, to the foundation, to what they were buying, but to the field as well. My dad he calls us the stewards of the earth. And we have to protect this earth. We have to protect our environment. It's very similar to if you take care of your body takes care of you.
Yes.
The same thing. You've got to take care of this earth if you want the earth to take care of you.
Yes, and be here for a long time, too.
Yeah, correct. It's a hand-in-hand exchange. And so, one of the things that we always focus on with the farms is sustainability and making sure that all of our plants, when they end their life cycle after 5-10 years' time, that they are recycled back into seed and then replanted once again. Or they either go into our fertilizer or they go into our peat moss filters and stuff. So always finding a way to use the land even when the land can't be used anymore was something that my father truly focused on. And once again, making sure that he gave more than what he took.
Yeah, and I just want to back up to something that you said, because you have had the opportunity to travel all around the world, and you've gained information and knowledge based on experience, not on watching a show or sitting in front of a TV. You've actually gone out there into the world and you've met the people, you've worked the farms, you've visited just about every corner of the earth, I believe, at one point or another. So with your mom and dad, who I just have great admiration for, because they live as stewards of the earth. And I'm a big believer of that. If we're going to take something, we have to give it back. It's an old Indian adage. And matter of fact, they do this as a rite of passage. When a child turns into a teenager, they stand in the middle of their tribe, and the tribe surrounds them, the village surrounds them, and then they're given a whip. And as they circle the whip over their head, as soon as the tip of the whip hits another person, they are responsible for how they interact and work with that particular person. And if we all had that philosophy, this world would be so much better, because not only the other person, but also how we treat the resources that we have. They are limited. And if we don't learn how to treat them properly and refurbish them, if you will, put the nutrients back in so we can use and work that land again, we're not going to be able to survive. And we're going to basically extinguish ourselves if we're not careful, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And I absolutely love what you just shared. I think that's key. And one of the things that I believe this world is missing nowadays is everybody is so quick to react and respond with such violence and such rudeness. It's unreal. And just taking the time to step back and be like, you know what, it wasn't your fault, nor is it my concern. Just learning to all get along with everybody.
Yeah. And I was told, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's just an incredible mentor and leader. And we were having this conversation. And if you look at it that we're all we're all a grain of sand, and that grain of sand is a light, and that light comes from your God, source, divinity, higher power, whatever you refer to your higher power as. And we're all a light from that source. Then we're really being mean and not talking nice to our divine power, God, whatever, again, you refer to your higher power. You would never speak to God that way. So why do you speak to another human being that way? So that was some conversation that we got into, which kind of leads me into some of the things that you all do, which is, and I love that you said this. And when I heard you say this, I'm like, okay, this makes me love the company even more. You said that you put purpose over profit. And I have seen you do that when you refused, not you personally, but when the company refused, I think it was a wintergreen crop that didn't hit the standards that the company has, and refused the crop. You knew another company would take it so it wouldn't go to waste, but it didn't hit the standards of what is expected of the product that you were processing. I love that you did that and you put that ahead. That story and of profit, I should say, that story and that of the fact that you really you hand weed the farms that you have. So can we just talk about the farms that we have and why you hand weed, why we've decided as a company to hand weed?
Of course. Yes, it has always been purpose over profit, quality over quantity, et cetera, however you want to put it into words. My father was a man that made sure that when he was giving something to somebody, that it was of its best value, of its best quality as well. And I remember one time we were down in Ecuador and we were distilling Eucalyptus globulus, and I cannot remember what exactly happened, but that Eucalyptus globulus ended up being contaminated once we ran it through our GC machine, which is a gas chromatography machine that breaks down all the molecule structures and stuff. Okay. It also tells us if there's pesticides or sprays or anything that's, not natural or organic within the oil itself. And, at that point we had close to, I want to say, 10, 15 gallons of Eucalyptus globulus that had been contaminated, and there was nothing we could do about it. And I said, well, Dad, what are we going to do? He said, well, we're not going to give it to the members. This is not, they do not deserve this. They deserve the utmost and the best quality. And so I cannot remember what we ended up doing with that Eucalyptus globulus, but I believe we used it as, we put it in spray bottles, and sprayed it as kind of like a cleaner. And even then, my dad was not very content with it. He wanted to just kind of put it all down the drain, but he wanted to try and find a use for it still. He never wanted to waste anything. And I think that speaks just volumes of the kind of company that we are as far as making sure that everything is reused or is looked at to try and be reused in a way that is valuable for itself, even if it's, not up to par, not up to quality or anything like that. our farms are absolutely beautiful and magnificent, and each one of them has its own character, its own style, its own theme, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And, you know, for those who have not been to our farms, I highly recommend that when you can, try and visit every single one of them, because you'll have a different connection with each one. You know, everybody asks me, oh, what's your favorite farm? And, you know, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
All of them just have the unique personality, unique character to them that is so amazing. And you're right, we do hand weed. And the reason why is because, we could go around spraying pesticides to get rid of weeds, but then you wouldn't be getting the best quality oil. That oil would be contaminated, it would be tampered with, and it would no longer be organic, it would no longer be clean either. And so we spend, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on manual labor for weeding. And one of the things that we've actually discovered as well, we've actually bought sheep from sheep farmers, and we let them roam, for example, our lavender fields down Mona, and they've kind of become our own personal weeders. They're very good at it. They do not like the taste of lavender, so they won't eat the lavender, but they'll eat the weed. Another thing that we found as well is we've actually planted grass in between the rows of the lavender to kind of help with the weeds as well. And so it's an amazing thing, you know, as you go along, you know, being in this industry, you start to find these cool little tactics, I guess you can say, to combat against, you know, weeds and stuff like that. We still do manual labor because, you know, the sheep and the grass, you know, don't kill all of the weeds. And so we still have a team that goes out every single day that picks weeds and just make sure that all of the fields are clean. And this isn't just for the farm in Mona. This is across all of our farms globally as well.
And how many farms do you have? Because I know they're everywhere.
Oh, goodness. Let's see. I would have to double check, but I think we're close to almost 30, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
In corporate and partner farms.
Yeah, and we're in charge. We actually have a seed to seal promise and guarantee that we know where that product is and what's happened to that product every step of the way from seed to when it's sealed and delivered to us. And it's funny too is your packaging is there's not a lot of over packaging. Is so often we get product and the product is 2 inches high, but we have packaging that's like 12 inches in diameter, and you throw out all this stuff which is not good for the earth and not good and not necessary. Even the packaging, you're very mindful. Young Living's very mindful of the packaging. Yeah. I actually, the other day, I had gotten an order and I took all the containers that we put the essential oils in. They're like tubes. If you visualize like paper towel tubes, but they're thicker. And I just made some chimes out of them because the tubes were different lengths and they happened to clink against each other when I had put them down. And I was like, wow, those would be really good chimes. And we actually made chimes. And now I'm collecting them through my orders and my customer orders. I'm collecting them for a project that some of our Girl Scouts are going to make some chimes. They're going to bling it up and make some chimes for Mom for Mother's Day recycling those tubes.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. And yes, when it comes to our packaging, one of our biggest, focuses is recycling as a whole. And so I actually just met with our director of sustainability and did a podcast episode with him on our podcast. And he covered everything as far as what our focus is here at Young Living for recycling. And it covered it. We went, extremely in depth as to all of our packages that can be recycled, the way they can be recycled, the way that they can be reused, our bottles that can be recycled. And I know a lot of people, some of our members have said, oh, why is there so much space in the boxes and stuff like that? Unfortunately, when it comes to some spacing in boxes, that is not a decision that we make. Right. That is a federal regulation because inside the box, we either have to include a pamphlet or something like that. And so it is unfortunate that, I wouldn't say our boxes are, what's the word I'm looking for, are up to par as far as, sustainability or recycling, because they can be cut down if, we could.
Right. But there are certain regulations you can't get around. But aside from the regulations, you do a really good job with that. And speaking of which, you just dropped, pun intended, a bomb here, which is that your YL Drop, which is your podcast that you had just started. I love this podcast because it's so informational. You're fantastic at it, unbelievable at it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the YL Drop.
Of course. So we started the YL Drop back in May, I think it was. Yeah, May.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we were working on this podcast or wanting to start up the podcast is when I started to take more of a role on at Young Living, I was looking at different ways to get Young Living out there. And one of those, podcasts are such a big and upcoming theme. And so I started looking into podcasts and was like, well, Young Living hasn't had a podcast, at least not that I knew of. And when I started, diving into it, I noticed that we did have a podcast years and years and years ago, but it was not marketed or advertised correctly. And so it didn't really go anywhere. It was done extremely well. The content itself was great. It just was not pushed out in the correct form. And so there was talk of either, revamping that podcast or just starting afresh. And so that's what we ended up doing. We all decided to kind of just start fresh with a new look and a new vibe and a new feel. And so I went to work. I created the logo. I created the theme song. I started to get a team together, a director, producer, writer. Well, all three of those are split between two different people,
right.
Three people. Paul Eagleston, who's our filmer, our videographer. We have Cole Wisinger. Sorry, his last name is tricky. And he is our most of our writing and our producer. He does a lot of the editing. And then myself, the host. And Cole and I work together on writing and coming up with ideas for the podcast itself. So we are 11 episodes in, and episode 12 will be out on the 15th. And as of right now, we have a total of 144,000 unique listeners and downloads. And we have been rated in the top 130 in the United States for educational podcasts, top 80 in Sweden, and top, 90 in most of Europe. And that's most of the data that I can remember.
Amazing.
It's been an amazing journey. We have had some amazing people come onto the show, share not only their Young Living stories, but their experiences. And the podcast itself, what I love is, a lot of these people that I've brought on, I've known for a good while. Some I know better than others, but there's still some stories that I've never heard of before. And it's just so great to hear stories. It's kind of like, you sitting down with your best friend that you've known your entire life and finding out one thing that you just never knew about them.
Sure.
And it's so exciting. And hearing their stories, hearing how Young Living has impacted their life in such an amazing way, or how they have truly loved what Young Living has done. It's great. It's amazing to hear. And I love sharing all of that. And we cover history, stories, fun facts, we cover products, all kinds of different stuff. It's everything YL.
Yeah, it's very energized, and I love the stories too. Anytime somebody shares a story, I know that how Young Living touched my life. I got introduced to the product, and it really touched my life. It energized it in such a way, and I literally went through a ditch and switch in my house. I'm a huge advocate for that because the products really work, and it's going to save lives. It does save lives. I know I'm not supposed to make any kind of representation, so I'm not necessarily saying it will save everybody's life, but I know it saved mine. And I can speak from that standpoint, is that, going through some health issues and being able to find this product and being able to use it and just being able to change my own personal life. I can't invite enough people to try it. Just try it. That's what I always say. Don't let me tell you about it. Just try it and you'll see. And it just makes a huge difference. And it just about every story that I either hear or hear someone saying as they're saying it, it brings us all to tears because it touches us right to the heart. And actions and words go together. And, your dad and your mom and yourself, you guys come out and you talk about your products with such passion, but it's not just, you don't say, hey, we love our farms. You really mean it. You live it. You breathe it. You really want the product to go out there. Your quality matters. It not only matters to all your membership, but it also matters to you. And when leadership does that and really steps away from maybe you could make more money, if you did it a different way, I'm sure you're approached all the time for avenues for you to make more money, but you always stay consistent with sustainability and making sure that you can give back and you stay to your core values. And for that, I am so grateful for that.
it's funny you bring that up because our inventory team absolutely hates us, and not hates us, but they have battle with us just because we have so much inventory sitting in the warehouse, and like you said, we're purpose over profit, and the perfect example of that is we have so many products that do not sell that well, right? But that product for one person or for a group of people can be the product that they absolutely need. And so we lose lots of money every single year just from keeping that product on the shelf because it's taking up space and we have to end up buying space and more room. But we know that product is making a difference for somebody. And so for us, that's worth its weight in gold.
See, this is what I'm talking about. It's mindset like that. If every company would do that, we would be such a better world. Wouldn't you think so? And that's why I surround myself with people like you, Jacob, because that's the mindset that I live in. That's absolutely beautiful. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're going to take a short break and be right back for more conversation with Jacob Young from Young Living. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne. If you have any questions, comments, or would like to hear from someone that is close to you, or you have some good information that you'd like to get out there and share with our listeners, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. And of course, follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. We are so honored and privileged to have Jacob Young from Young Living on. You guys know how I feel about this product and this company. They represent everything that I stand for. I love that they stand for purpose over profit. I love how they handle their products and that the products are just so amazing. And you know what? Something I didn't point out and I didn't let you guys know, but Jacob has really been in roles all over the company in IT, customer service, research and development. He has a work ethic just similar to his dad, quite frankly, an entrepreneurial spirit, as you have heard in the first part of our segment, that is beyond and second to none. And again, his dad must be incredibly, and mom incredibly proud of what he's doing. I know I am, as someone who loves the company, to even be associated with him. But what I love about it is he's worked, and my dad used to say this to me all the time: if you're going to be a CEO of a company, you need to understand what every department is doing. So you need to go work in every department so you really understand it. And that's exactly what I see Jacob doing. So Jacob, welcome back to the show. And to that note, working in all the different departments, do you see the benefit? My dad was a very smart man.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely so. And work ethic was huge with my father.
Yeah.
I remember years and years ago, actually one of the main reasons why my father purchased our lodge, our Skyrider Wilderness outfitting guide in Tabiona, Utah, is because he wanted me to know what it was like to work on a ranch, what he went through, what he experienced. I will admit, at that time when he bought the lodge when I was younger, and the ranch itself, I had absolutely zero, I would say, manual labor work ethic. I was really good at doing homework, but that was about it.
Well, you are a gamer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I gamed a lot. And I still game to this day, but, my father bought the ranch because he said, you cannot go on in this life without knowing how to work. In any life, in any scenario, any situation, you have to know how to work. Young living is not a guarantee. It's not, heaven forbid, for whatever reason, some corporation, some government organization could shut all the MLMs down tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee. And so we have to know how to work if that ends up being the situation. You have to know how to make a living out of anything. You have to know how to put food on the table.
Without a doubt. And just for a qualification, don't mean to interrupt your thought, but this is not my mother's MLM. This is a different type of an MLM. It is not the same. It's not the same platform because laws have changed and things like that. So it precludes the old things happening. So when MLM is in some people's mind a bad word, and it's not. It really isn't, because we are guided by your mom and by you and the entire administration of and owners of Young Living that we need to take care. We're caregivers. So I take care of my team. I take care of the people on my team. to make sure that they can take care of their team and so forth and so on. I do it because I love it. I love the products. And if someone becomes a brand partner, that's cool. But that's not what I'm going for. It's about getting the word out. It's about letting other people know about something good. And it's so easy to share about something good because it's just that. People love to help other people. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're just helping other people find stuff that they may not have known about.
I completely agree, and thank you so much for bringing that up. The best way that I can kind of like put that into perspective is, MLM. For a lot of people are immediately turned away from that. But I think of it this way, right? Is you have chocolate chip cookies and you have oatmeal raisin cookies, but it's very hard to distinguish between the two of them because they look kind of similar. Well, unfortunately, think of the bad MLMs or the MLMs that have tarnished the name MLM as being the oatmeal raisin cookies, right? Not a lot of people like the oatmeal raisin cookie. They take a bite out of that expecting chocolate and like, oh, gross.
So disappointing.
Right? Yeah, it's very disappointing. So that's kind of how I see it. It's like there are chocolate chips out there when it comes to like MLMs, right? And network marketing companies. I'm personally biased, but I see Young Living as that way. We don't. The thing is we don't associate ourselves as an MLM. We associate ourselves as a people business, right?
Yeah, clearly.
We associate ourselves as a business that provides for others, purpose over profit. Everything that we make has a purpose to it. We don't make products for profit. We really don't. When it comes to product design and when we're developing a product, the first question is, okay, why are we making it? That's literally the first question in meetings when we start looking at products. And if it's not for a purpose or, if it's not for a legitimate purpose as far as, someone's well-being, we discard it. It's not how we function. It's not how we work. So once again, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's great that you brought it up. Think of us as the chocolate chip cookie.
And you distinguish yourself too, because you are the chocolate chip cookie. You're like the best chocolate chip cookie anyone has ever had. It tastes better. It's healthy for you. It's better for you. There's just so many benefits to this chocolate chip cookie you can't even imagine. And I don't have enough airtime to even explain it at this point, but definitely feel free to give me a call because I'd love to talk about it. I could talk about this product till the cows come home. And they'll come home healthy too, by the way. But with regard to that, even your compensation plan really holds everybody accountable to make sure everybody else is doing well, to make sure that everybody is getting some kind of benefit out. Even some of the products that you have for the holiday season are made in different countries, and by buying that product, you're actually giving money to help that particular farm, that country. That your foundation work is second to none. I love that every order that I make, if I just round it up, that money goes into the foundation. That foundation goes back to organizations, companies, to different situations that allow us to really give back as people using the product. So not only am I using my own product as I look at it, I'm keeping my family healthier, I'm helping with the environment, not putting toxins into the environment, because every time we wash the stuff off, it goes into our water, the water goes into our aquifer and comes back up through our plants. So, we're reducing that cycle by really having a clean home living is what I look at. That's why I love the ditch and switch. But the foundation, just touch briefly on the foundation.
So years and years ago, when we moved down to Ecuador, my father drove past a building that he assumed was, abandoned. It was very dilapidated. It was broken. It was terrible. It just didn't look like, anybody was in there using it for any purpose. Come to find out, as he was going past it even further, he saw kids come out of there with school books and stuff and realized that dilapidated, horrible-looking building was a school. It was a K-4 school, and there was one teacher that would volunteer to come in and teach these kids, once or twice a week. The floor was dirt. The chalkboards were broken. There was no ceiling. The outhouse was, 4 2x4 pallets and a hole in the ground. There was no running water. There was no electricity. Just the absolute worst conditions as far as, going to school is. When we think going to school, we get on a bus and we have a beautiful classroom to sit down in. We have desks and stuff. Some of these, you had 4 kids sharing one desk at one point in time because there just wasn't that much. And my father could not stand seeing those kids not having a good education. My father grew up in the mountains, and 4 to 6 months out of the year, he was not able to go to school because where he lived, he was so far away from school, and even, a main road to get a ride to school, that he'd be snowed out. And so school sometimes wasn't an option for him. And, he struggled a lot through his life because he did have a hard time. He didn't have the best education, but that did not stop him from anything, which I absolutely admired. Yeah. He was a brilliant man, a smart man, even though, he said that he did not have the best education. And he did have mountain dialect, which we all loved.
Yes.
But he wanted to make sure that everyone could have the best education that they could have. He thought that was just of the utmost importance. And, he made sure that my brother and I had the best schools to go to, that we had the best education as well. And we did. And I'm truly grateful for it. I really am. I'm currently enrolled at the Utah Valley University right now, trying to go for my bachelor's degree, of course, in business management. My wife is going to Southern Utah University. She's doing the same thing, trying to go for her business management degree as well.
Yeah.
She is just, I don't know how she does it, because she does anywhere from 10 to 14 credits each semester, and it's just absolutely crazy, but she's dedicated.
She's also awesome.
Yeah, and going back to that, he just said, we need to create something to help people in need. And it was at that point in time, after going past the school, that the foundation was created down there in Ecuador. And now we have partnered with so many organizations, Soul Hope, Pro Hope for Justice, Navajo Tribe Nations, and so many more.
Yeah.
We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children out of sex trafficking. I was there for that, and it's horrifying to know that kind of stuff does go on in our world, and we do not notice it. When I experienced that for the first time, I had a very hard time. It was a eye-opening and traumatic experience at the exact same time.
Sure, it's hard to reconcile that in your brain because you don't really realize it exists.
It is, and I have a hard time kind of talking about it because, like I said, it was very traumatizing to just see what went on and how kids, were. I won't get into it, but it was amazing to see that we were able to rescue them and put them in a loving home, in a loving environment, and some of these little girls and little boys, some as young as 3 months old, are able to live out normal lives now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's
I love it.
Yeah, I have that experience through the Rotary. We went to the Dominican Republic. There's a school down there that my particular chapter is helping rebuild, and we send down supplies and the whole 9 yards, and it's a source of pride. And I work with the Lions because they do this Christmas thing, and it's just, it rips your heart out when you're delivering food and they're so grateful, and you're just delivering a meal, and then you kind of can't help but adopt them because we're humans and we should be taking care of one another. And that's the thing I love about the company that your family has put together and continues to put out there through the foundation, empowering people, protecting the planet, having pure products. All these things are the basis of what Young Living's about. And the source of pride that you must have and the feeling of gratitude of what we have becomes even larger. Like when I'm having a bad day, my day is nothing, not even close to being bad, because I think about these children that you're talking about that we need to be protecting and going out and helping.
Yeah. One of my more recent experiences, well, not as recent, but Nepal. I went to Nepal with my father, after the massive earthquake in 2015. And when my father went there, he noticed that Kathmandu, the big town, was getting, a lot of attention.
Right.
But there's hundreds and hundreds of little towns outside of Kathmandu in the mountains that just were not receiving any attention, or any notion at all. And so he went out to these towns because they were not receiving help. And he knows that Kathmandu was fine because it was receiving help. And, he went to one specifically called Yarsa, which is about a 16-hour miserable ride outside of Kathmandu. And when he went there, he asked, because Red Cross and a bunch of other organizations had been out there, and maybe I shouldn't name some of these, but they'd been out there, and my dad asked, well, what had happened? And this was months after this. And they said, well, they said they were going to come back, and they never did come back.
Oh.
And my dad said, okay, I will be back in 2 months' time, and we will rebuild your town. So I went back with my dad, I think it was 2 months or a few months later. We stopped in Kathmandu. We bought all the equipment you could possibly imagine, from brick machines to heavy machinery. And we went up into Yarsa, and we just finished rebuilding all the houses and all the schools, not only in Yarsa, but all of the surrounding towns as well. So that was one of the projects that we just finished with the foundation was Nepal. I think it was something over 400 houses and 20 to 30 different schools rebuilt after the earthquake. And that experience was just, it's hard to explain, but giving somebody hope after they have lost it and did not think that they could find it again is just truly life-changing and moving to you.
Humbling.
I mean, it's a leaky eye syndrome experience is what my father would call it.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time not crying about it right now, just thinking about it.
Yeah, you've taken my words away, and that's very hard to do, Jacob.
It's just the foundation is just, there's so much more to this company than people realize. A lot of people, when they first, when they're first introduced to the company, they're blown away by the vast options, the vast, organizations, the vast projects that we do. There's just, like you said, we could be here for days talking about all that goes on with Young Living.
Yeah, and we're just really just touching the surface, and I just mean touching it. We're not even grazing the surface. That's how in depth it is. And again, so grateful for what your family does. Anytime you do a project like that and you need manpower, please keep my name. Call me, email me, I will come, because things like that just, that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve one another, and this is how we serve one another. And if it's through helping people learn about the products, helping you with a project like this, like in Nepal or outside of Nepal, that just sends my heart soaring. And that's what we're here for. We're really here to do that with each other, not all this other nonsense that we, unfortunately, we sometimes get defocused on. So, I appreciate everything that you're saying. It's just beautiful. That just took my words away. I'm like stumbling at this point because I'm trying to hold back the leaky eye syndrome. To that, what's your why, Jacob? What's your personal why?
There's a lot of whys. My one is my father wanted essential oils to be known and to be in every home, right?
Yes.
And he is the father of the modern day essential oil movement. When he started his research, this was before the internet. There was no research. There were no books published. There were no scientific studies that were published or anything like that. He brought forth everything that needed to be known or what was needed to start the research, to start the investigation, to start the studies, and he didn't do it, like I said, out of profit. He didn't see it as a money making or anything like that. He just wanted people to know that there were these products that I have to find the words and be compliant at the exact same time.
I understand. And I love that he didn't accept you using the words "I can't," that was removed from vocabulary because there was no such thing. And
we were not in our home.
Yeah.
It was almost as bad as saying the F word.
Because there was no such thing in Gary's mind. Everything was, we'll figure it out. I can, we do. If we all had that mindset, we'd get so much more done, don't you think?
Oh, I agree. And he wanted to share it with the world. He said everyone needs to know that these exist, that these are out there, that these are God's living energy, that they are here on the planet for us as well. And the fact that he wanted everybody to know that and wanted to share it with everybody, just like I've said, just speaks volume.
It really does. I've been a certified aromatherapist since don't do math, since the 70s. Don't do math. And, we didn't have those tools. And I know exactly what you're saying, Jacob. They weren't available. We trusted because someone else, a shaman or someone of high authority, someone who was the air quotes expert, and they were experts, would teach us, and we would pass this on. And it was like, getting information from your sage grandmother, and we would pass it on and we would keep it alive. And that was what our job was to keep it alive. Your father took it to the next step, and he got research and scientific data behind it, because people were like, well, there's no scientific data, and they would poo-poo it. Well, no, there is now. We can actually show that the oils vibrate, and that's a whole nother conversation. I would love to have you back to have that conversation about how the oils vibrate and how they interact with us and all this beautiful stuff that goes on with the products. But I really wanted to get, as a home run, just a taste of what Young Living is about from your perspective. And I love it. Your why is so deep, and I understand why you have a lot of whys, because you have you just come from a family that is so caring and kind and respectful and humble and full of gratitude. And that just is, I'm so grateful for you, for your family, for this opportunity to be able to be associated with Young Living and to be able to be one of your messengers going out there and an ambassador going out there to take the message and help get it into households as your father had desired. And I want to help that dream come true.
Thank you so much. And yes, that is my big why. Is I want to carry out his dream of essential oils being in every single home. And we're getting there. We are so much farther along than we ever were. Now, some of them may not have the right essential oils in their home, but it's a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, because not every essential oil is the same.
Correct. And, it's fine. It's kind of, along those lines of like, what's the best terminology that I can think of? Oh, yeah, it's like, organic food. You find out that buying organic food is better for you, and so you start buying that food.
Right.
And you may have not been doing it right the first time, but you started moving in the right direction. And, I see that all the time. People are like, oh, we need to get Young Living essential oils in every home. I completely agree. Yes.
Yeah.
So while that is the right mindset, it's almost too aggressive of a mindset, right? You have to start somewhere. You have to start small.
As you learn, you're right. Start small and move on, right? So as we learn about it, an educated consumer is going to be a better consumer, right?
Yes, correct. And like I was saying, you have to teach them why Young Living oils in every single home. And going back to, why I have so many why reasons is, to what I do. One of the other big reason is, sitting at corporate or in a business environment, right? It can be very stressful sometimes. It really can be. But when you get out there with the brand partners, with the members, and you're face to face with them, and you hear the stories of how Young Living has impacted them, of why they love Young Living, and they just share their stories, and being in their presence and seeing that they just love being part of that company.
Yes,
that's also one of my big whys. That is the biggest reward to me.
I totally agree. Thank you so much, Jacob, for joining us today. I hate to cut it short. Hope you can come back and join us again so we can dive in deeper into the products. But thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lori-Ann. My heart is always lifted by sharing this time with you. I know you have a choice of where you spend your time, and that you spend your time with us right now I'm so grateful for that. Thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. I am Lori-Ann Casdia. Until next time, play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up big.